talk about cross-selling, reselling, upselling opportunities with a list that has been captured in the past or from current customers or from lost customers, right? And so this does get back to the previous chapter a little bit around prior express written consent and the terms. Remember that they do not expire. And so as long as it's topically relevant, you can technically use it for reselling, upselling, cross-selling, etc. opportunities. So as long as you follow some of these stipulations, then you should be good to go. It is technically protected and allowed. So in basically in certain respects, this is where the other ruling that from December 2023 comes into play. And so under these new rules, in particular the one-to-one consent rule, they've made it clear that all calls and texts using regulated tech, aka AI and pre-recorded voice, robodialing, etc., must comply with the new definition of prior express written consent. So basically, as long as the person you're trying to cross-sell, resell, upsell to is falling under the new definition of prior express written consent, then you should be good to go. If they have not revoked contact, you should be able to cross-sell, upsell, and resell to them with any kind of human-assisted dialing, AI, pre-recorded text, etc. Now, basically the manual calling part is quite different. If you're manually calling, that's a little bit different than using AI, but if you're going to use technology to make the call, they do need to fall into the new definition of prior express written consent. So first check to make sure, rewatch the chapter on prior express written consent, but if they fall under the green light there, then you can basically cross-sell, resell, or upsell to them. But remember that it does need to be logical or topically associated. And so this is another part that I think is really easy to kind of forget about. The concept here to make this as obvious as possible is if you've captured prior express written consent, here's a good example. So someone has basically filled out a form, and this is following all the new rules of TCPA and one-to-one, and you're basically going to be selling any product or marketing or informational stuff or customer service related to Pitchit's products. That's the only thing you can basically use their consent to sell them. And so if Pitchit comes out with another product that's pretty topically relevant to the one that they had originally filled out the form to consent to, that should be okay. But you couldn't start selling, for example, pizza to that consumer just because they provided express written consent for an AI software, right? Another good example is a lot of our customers are selling internet services. You can't use that consent to sell workout equipment, right? But you could probably use it for selling other things related to internet services. So here's an example, right? If you might be able to make a case that home internet services are topically associated with home security and consumer phone services, especially if they were consenting as a homeowner who had recently changed addresses and would likely be in need of all of these topically related services, that you have a decent case that you could make there. Just be careful because some of that gets into gray area, and so it's going to be on you to show the burden of proof that it's topically or logically associated to the original product that they've opted into. But as long as it's not obviously different, like selling food to someone who has opted into receiving internet services, then keep in mind you're probably okay, especially if it's another product your company sells that's related to the product that consumer bought or opted into receiving in the past. And without further ado, that basically concludes how the new TCPA one-to-one consent terms apply to cross-selling, reselling, or upselling opportunities. Thanks.